The first thing I'd like to show you is the overall skill tree of the wizard, and as you can see it's being split up into three sections: the mouse skills, the action bar skills, and the passive skills, and each of these are then split up again into different lesser sections. The first two are the mouse skills, which has a primary and a secondary section. The thing that's special for the primary is that none of the abilities in the primary tree cost any of your resources, and that goes for every class. So in this case with the wizard it doesn't cost any arcane power at all, but the secondary tree, all of these abilities cost then resources, and this goes for every class in the game. So I like to talk about the primary skills first. As you can see, the very first ability of the primary tree is the magic missile. The magic missile basically casts a bolt of arcane energy towards a target. As you can see on here, it's fairly decent. It goes where your cursor goes. It's a single target, decent hitting ability. As you can see, spammable, doesn't cost any of your resource. If you rune it with the first ability called Charged Blast, it increases the damage of the magic missile. Fairly straightforward. Still a single target ability, still spammable, but deals more damage. The second rune is called Split. This fires multiple missiles with each attack. That's interesting, because that all of a sudden gives us a spammable AoE attack. As you can see, it fires 3 now, which is at times fairly useful, let me tell you that. The second ability in the primary tree is the Shock Pulse. The Shock Pulse releases bursts of uncontrollable electricity across the ground. So, if we just show it here on the screen, as you can see, electricity goes out in a fairly small range and is completely random. 3 of these, you can see they fire 3, but they can all hit the same target, or they can hit none of the targets. It's all on luck, to be honest. If you socket it with the first rune called Explosive Bolts, it'll give the Shock Pulse an additional ability, which is that slain enemies will explode and electrocute nearby enemies. I can't show it to you like right here in the town, but I'll give you a clip where it's definitely showable, and you should get that now. There we go. As you can see, a Shock Pulse emerges from the slain enemies. The last ability in the primary tree, available in the beta at least, is called the Spectral Blade. The Spectral Blade summons mystic blades that slice through enemies. As you can see, it's a very short range attack. I'm not sure how fond of it I am, since it doesn't deal any special damage or have any special mechanics at the moment, and it just seems to make the wizard fairly vulnerable by standing so close. So hopefully some runes will tweak it and make it more wizardish and perhaps long range. The first ability in the secondary tree is called the Ray of Frost. The Ray of Frost channels a beam of pure cold, chilling your enemies. It looks like this. Very long range attack, but also drains your arcane power as any other secondary ability does. So, as you see, deals moderate damage, and it also follows your cursor around, so you can control it completely by yourself. The first rune available to the Ray of Frost is very interesting. It's called Sleet Storm, and it creates a swirling storm around you that damages enemies caught in it. This ability completely changes the purpose of Ray of Frost. From making it a single target, long distance spell, it now turns into this kind of swirling storm that damages everyone around you in close range and hinders their movement speed and also slows their attack speed, and it deals massive damage. It's a wonderful tweak, and I think it's funny that an ability can change in such a huge matter just by a single rune. The second ability in the secondary tree is the Arcane Orb. The Arcane Orb casts an orb of pure arcane energy that explodes on contact. So it's like this. It looks very much like our first primary ability, but this one deals so much more damage, and also explodes on contact, which means that if enemies are bunched up, it'll become an AoE ability. The first rune to this increases the damage of the Arcane Orb. It's fairly straightforward, nothing to show you, nothing changes there. The third ability of the secondary skill tree is the Arcane Torrent. The Arcane Torrent unleashes a barrage of arcane projectiles. As you can see, it's a fairly long range ability. It shoots these arcane projectiles up in the air and onto your cursor. It's a little bit delayed, the spell itself, so it requires some skill you actually have if it's a moving target to shoot them just a little bit in front of the target in order to hit. But apart from that, it's a wonderful spell and deals out a massive amount of damage compared to how little arcane power it actually costs. That's the mouse skills for now. The second skills, or second skill part in the skill tree, is the action bar skills. These are by default bound to your first, second, third and fourth number keys, but you can change these by going into options, key bindings, and then scrolling down to change them. The first ability, the defensive, is as the name kinda indicates, all defensive. So these will help you escape these annoying situations you can find yourself in at times, like being cluttered around a few mobs or not being able to dodge that boss melee swing. These abilities will help you, obviously. So the first ability in the defensive tree is the Frost Nova. The Frost Nova blasts nearby enemies and frees them in place. So if we just go like this, you can see it goes in a range like around here, and it freezes everyone for I think 4 seconds or so. That shouldn't be too much of it. If you socket it with the first rune and the only rune available in the beta, called Shatter, then the frozen enemies, every time you freeze an enemy, it has a chance to release a Frost Nova when killed. So if you use this Frost Nova and freeze the enemies and kill them and have this rune socketed, it has a chance of then releasing another Frost Nova and then just snowballing every enemy around. So this has potential for AoE situations, definitely, and is a very cool ability. The second defensive ability is called the Diamond Skin. The Diamond Skin transforms your skin into diamond, obviously, and temporarily absorbing all damage. This means that for the time it's available, which is, let's see, for 6 seconds, you can't take any damage at all. You're basically immune to damage. This has saved me so many times, even in the beta, and I love to play around with it. Just going Diamond Skin, rush into 20-30 enemies, that doesn't matter, and just AoEing them all while being immune to damage. It's one of the best defensive abilities, and I must say I love it. We're apparently running out of time, seeing as this video is a little longer than intended, but I'll make a part 2, and that should be up at the same time as the first part. So if you just click, I'll make sure to make a link at the screen. It should pop up around now, and hopefully you'll enjoy that as well. So I will see you in the part 2. Bye.